that explains, the reason why we've taken this journey forward. But Kumar Singh, one of the arguments which has always been put forward is that, X develops a weapon and then Y develops another weapon to counter it. I'm talking about the very concept of arms race, and this is a point which is being put forward that this will lead to an arms race. But as Dr. Nayani said, and as Manu was pointing out, we as a sovereign democratic nation need to have a nuclear deterrent capability to defend ourselves.
Absolutely, you're absolutely right. We are in a very unique position. We have two nuclear powered neighbors. Both of them are adversarial to us. Both of them have a nexus amongst themselves. We've seen what China is doing in terms of its maritime expansion. It is definitely going to be an Indian Ocean power 5 or 10 years down the line. So we have to make sure that we are safe. And the moment you come into the strategic level of nuclear weapons and nuclear technology, you ring fence a certain amount of security element around yourself. Nobody is going to mess around with you if they know that you have this retaliatory capability. Otherwise, we would always have lived under the threat of a nuclear attack. Even now, you keep getting these funny noises from our Western neighbor about nuclear weapons are not meant to be kept in show windows and all kinds of stuff. But they'll keep it at that. And I think we've called their bluff now on more than one occasion. Because they also are scared of how we can retaliate. I mean, once you cross that tripwire of nuclear, it doesn't matter whether it's a tactical nuclear weapon, it doesn't matter when it's a huge nuclear explosion. Nuclear is nuclear, and then the retaliation could be of any magnitude. And India's nuclear doctrine is very clear. It is no first use, it is also credible minimum deterrence, but also caters for maximum punishment to be inflicted on the perpetrator. And I think this government has on more than one occasion said we need to review our no first use policy, which doesn't necessarily mean that we will adopt a first use policy, but we retain the right in no first use also to carry out a preemptive strike. We will not wait to be hit. If we know the hit is going to be imminent, we will retaliate first. We will attack first. So I think that kind of strategic depth that we get with this missile. If you notice, after the Cold War ended, and Cold War was supposed to be the Armageddon which was going to happen, all the countries in the West cut down their defense budgets. They got rid of submarines. They got rid of even a lot of their nuclear missile capability. But the one thing they all retained to a large extent was the SSBN capability. And even today, despite shrinking defense budgets, despite all kinds of issues, all the 5 countries, the nuclear powers, are developing the next level of deterrence. The Americans are developing a new submarine, the Russians are developing a new submarine, the Chinese, the French, nuclear, all 5 are developing the next generation of their SSBN. Because it not only gives you tremendous amount of strategic depth, it also keeps you on the UN top table. Because when you have that kind of power, you are respected. And I think if India aspires to be on that same table, it needs to be operating in that league. Okay. And I think from that perspective, it's very important for India's own self-power projection capability that we have this capability.
And then we'll have to do it indigenously, something which we are on the right path to go ahead and do it. Manu, your views on that aspect?
Yeah, I totally agree with the views here, especially on the concept of this being a weapon which can be used, which is there just to show people to keep away. And this actually drives down our budgets, because if you have such a weapon system available, you don't have to invest so much in your conventional forces. You can cut down, say, the number of fighter jets you've catered for, or maybe some other ships you've catered for, because this takes care of a lot of things. So this one has a cost-saving element. Secondly, I think as India is looking to do a lot of exports, we have declared ourselves to be we want to be a weapons exporter country. It's a big strategic step we've taken. Such a capability shows the world that Indian technology is advanced. We are in a league of top 5 nations who have this, and that the technological processes that you go through, they will achieve some good systems. And see, the K5, the K4, all of them are very secret programs. We don't know costing on that. But if you just correlate that with the other systems which we know costing of, they will be very, very cheaply done. I'm pretty sure this developmental cost would be maybe half of, or even lesser of what the Western powers would have done. So it shows that you have technical prowess, that is done cheap, and that helps you as a country to export your weapon systems to other foreign countries, which are conventional, which are not like this. Of course, you can't export this one, but it just enhances your global presence as an arms manufacturer, as an arms developer.
Okay, and your image as a technological, powerhouse which can go ahead and deliver on the promises, if we are talking about in export terms, obviously not with the SLBMs. Yes, Dr. Nayan.
First of all, we cannot sell ballistic missile.
Yes, that's what it is. Yes,
we are a participant of missile technology control regimes, and remember, missile technology control regime is not an export promotion body. So actually, when we became a member and debate started on media, many people mistook it by an export promotion body. We are not. We are a responsible content, and this we have been hammering time and again. We are not going to transfer or sell our nuclear weapons or ballistic missiles weapons which are capable of carrying WMD capability to any country. So we have stated this policy, and we are going to have. And second, even technologies which we have developed for ballistic missiles, we are not supposed to transfer under catch-all clause. This is we are after United Nations Security Council Resolution 1540, and when we passed an act in Indian Parliament in 2005, that is WMD Act, and we then implemented it through different regulations available in Directorate General of Foreign Trade. SCOMET has got that control item. There is SCOMET list is called Special Chemicals, Organisms, Material, Equipment and Technologies, maintained by DGFT. We cannot at any cost. This is one. Second is about security element, which we so K4. I am somehow saying it is coming in media, so it should be true. But I am saying a ballistic submarine launched ballistic missile, which is capable of delivering warhead, nuclear or otherwise, is becoming very important. This refinement is important, and why it is becoming important? Because now the world is entering into hypersonic weapon system. So you also have to develop it, and there are reports which are stating or which are indicating that China is also developing that capability. Russia is doing it. Russia is not going to transfer that capability to you. It may do it to China the way it is developing, and this is a matter of concern. So we have to somehow arm our weapons, even ballistic missile weapons, with this capability, and soon even MTCR is going to target those kind of technologies in its system, and for that already initiative has been taken by the European countries and participated by United States. We are also in it. It is happening at the expert level, but soon it will be going to the governmental level, from non-governmental or expert level, you can say, to governmental level, and that is the area where we have to watch and we have to develop, because again no one is going to transfer that technologies to you.
So one thing is quite clear, that we'll have to develop our own indigenous capabilities, and that is something which we are doing. But Commander Singh, final comments from you on the strategic aspect, as well as the effectiveness of having such a weapon within our arsenal.
I think it's absolutely essential. Once we have decided that we need to have a triad, and we are going to invest a lot in maintaining the triad. We've got a major program for the SSBN development. If we're going to get 5 SSBNs as is planned, which means that we will have continuous sea deterrence, at least one SSBN on patrol all the time, it is very important, and that capability that we have is credible enough to deliver what it is meant to deliver and send the message it is meant to send, which means that I now have a credible second strike capability. I can counter any threat coming at me from anywhere. And so please, before you even venture down that path or think of venturing down that path, think of the consequences. So it's a great strategic weapon. It shapes the entire battle space, as Manu brought out. It is not only about nuclear being separate from conventional. It will affect your conventional warfighting capability, and perhaps there are certain capabilities which you can ride on the nuclear capability and not need to sort of develop separately. Coming to what was alluded to by Manu, I think at no stage have India has been a very responsible nuclear power. We've never been blamed for proliferation of any kind. We are extremely responsible. And I think, as Dr. Nance is right, but I don't think Manu was referring to exporting strategic missile technology. He was talking about India's prowess as a technological nation.
Yes.
If it wants to be an arms exporter, people should believe in the capability and quality of Indian goods. And if you show this kind of capability, that you're capable of developing strategic weapons, then it builds up confidence in the people you want to export to. Build up your own confidence that I have equipment now good enough to offer to the world, basically.
Manu, final words from you.
See, as a strategic system, what I will look forward in the next few years to come by is not just the missile that you have. It is how you operate it, how you deploy it, tactics, training of the crew. How does the decision-making matrix work? Because remember, when a platform like this, with a missile like this goes to sea, you have to have multiple fail safes, because there's a ship's captain on his own, he's outside. How does he communicate? All of that. So you are building a whole ecosystem. It's not just one missile. It's their long-range comms with the satellite, with your ships, a whole range of fail-safe mechanisms. So I think we are looking at an ecosystem of sorts, which
can function independently.
Which can function independently, and that actually gives us a big technical edge when it comes to other systems also.
Okay, so there it is, all about our indigenous capabilities in terms of developing the ballistic missiles, specifically the SLBM K4, which we are talking about, also known as intermediate range ballistic missile, and its importance as far as our nuclear deterrence capabilities are concerned. We'll come back again next week with a different topic.